when you use a load box. So for those not in the know, a load box allows you to plug your tube amp into this device and run, let's say, a 50 or 100 watt amplifier at a much more manageable volume. So the tube amp expander allows you to attenuate your amp almost all the way down. In fact, silently, you can use headphones as well, and you really don't lose the feel of your amplifier. You don't lose that interaction between the transformer and the speaker and all the components, all the components in that chain. They still react the way you would hope. So essentially, the basic part of this is probably the best reactive load on the market, because Boss have been working on this for years and years and years. And the concept came about, do you guys remember the WAZA amp that came out a few years ago? This was kind of designed around that same period, because that's a super loud amplifier, and they needed a way of attenuating that amp, but keeping the feel of that amp. And that amp was all about feel. It wasn't a tube amp, it was a solid state amp, but it was still all about feel. So we're running, I think this is a Friedman BE50. I think it is. Is that right? Yep. So this is a super high-end tube amp, and we can attenuate this down. It's running, I don't know if you guys can see the master volume, but it's pretty much cranked. And if I was to crank the attenuation all the way up on this, we would immediately be closed down as a booth. So that's not going to happen. But you can hear at this stage, this control just here, speaker out control, is allowing me to attenuate the output of the amplifier way down through the PA here. Oh, sorry, not through the PA, through the cab. So we can get great tube tone. We all know that tube amps have to be cranked to sound really good. And this is cranked and it feels amazing to play. But it's attenuated really far down. Now I can go even further, so I could take this. This is super quiet now, so you guys at the front will be able to hear this, but no one else will. It still feels the same to play, and that's the point of a reactive load. A resistive load, which you can get, you can buy resistive load boxes, they do the same job and dissipate the energy as heat. They don't feel great to play. People say they change the tonal characteristic and feel of your amp. This doesn't do that. But there are quite a lot of products on the market that do that job of a reactive load. So this has got so much other stuff built into it as well. So to give you one example, let me turn this back up again. Can you hear the effects? We've got delay running. That is also coming from the tube amp expander. We've got delay, reverb, we've got 4 EQs in there, and we've got a full cab and IR and mic simulation built in there. There's tons of different mics, tons of different cabs. Now the really, really cool thing is that with this product, all those effects can also be run out of the speaker out, not just the line out. So there's other products on the market that have great effects built in. This is 32-bit, 96 kilohertz, it's all super high end, but you can run those effects out of the speaker out. Now then combine that with the fact that we have an effects loop built into this as well. So I can also come down here and I can turn on the effects loop. And I've got a Boss MD500 in the effects loop of the tube amp expander, not of the amp. So if you're one of these guys that's running a vintage amp, say you've got a 1959 SLP with no, or some kind of plexi with no effects loop on there, well you can now run that amplifier into the tube amp expander and have a super clean effects loop post the power amp and run all of your effects that way and have a really clean sound without having to modify your amplifier. So now the MD500 it's super clean sounding. Now the amp does have an effects loop on, but of course if yours doesn't, you can sort of technically modify it using the tube amp expander, and you can switch it on and off from the front of the unit or using Boss's GAFC foot switch, which is what I'm doing here. So now the effects loop is off. Now there's also an expression input on the back of the tube amp expander, and you can control all sorts of different elements of the rig, as they call it. So the effects section, the IRs, your mics, the cabinet simulation, all of that stuff from one foot switch. So here I've got a single expression pedal, and it's controlling the volume of my entire rig. So you've got the ultimate in flexibility in terms of one unit on top of your amplifier doing everything that you need it to, and having that the control you need from a single volume pedal. It's super, super cool. So the other thing that's really amazing about this unit that you don't find on other units of the same kind of, in the same marketplace, there is a really high-end audio interface built into it as well. So one USB cable into your Mac or PC. This is not Mac only. We're not Mac biased here. You can do this on a PC too. And you've got a really nice audio interface. There are drivers to install. It's not class compliant, but that means it's ASIO compatible as well. So you're getting ASIO drivers in there. So if you're using Cubase or Studio One, this works flawlessly with those. And it's a full recording interface. So you can record with nothing else but this unit. Super, super cool. And you can use all the speaker simulations that are built in. You can load 4 of your own IRs in there if you're into impulse responses. Maybe you like the Celestian impulse responses, you can do that. So it's really, really super powerful, very, very flexible indeed. A great, great sounding unit. And it's not that expensive either. It's basically priced around the same point as you would find with all the other high-end reactive loads on the market. So it's a very, very cool thing indeed. The only other thing I'm going to mention about it, which is very unique as well, if you're somebody who likes to run low wattage tube amps on stage, but you play with a drummer, let's say, who's really loud, this also has an analog active power stage in it. So not only does it attenuate, you can actually increase the volume of your tube amp post the output stage as well. So if you want to use a very small low wattage 15 watt amplifier, 10 watt amplifier, on stage with a drummer, you can do that too, which is super, super cool. It's got all the ins and outs you would need. It's really, really cool. So that's the tube amp expander. Check it out. I think they've got one hooked up in the Boss booth over there. You can check it out, have a play with it, see what it does. If you've got any questions, ask the Boss guys. I'm going to play one more tune for you. If you've got any questions, you can ask me afterwards. And yeah, check it out. It's fantastic, guys. So.